Good morning. Do you ever have one of those mornings, especially Mondays? I'm so glad we have our meditation on these days. I have been on the phone with the Secretary of State in Florida trying to get some issues handled with the title of my car that I'm trying to sell and trade in, and there were issues transferring the title from Illinois to Florida, and it's creating large problems in my world. And so I was thinking about that today, and so I'm rushing around to get ready after being on the phone for a while, and just thinking about the options for emotions I could get into about this, as you can imagine. And I was just feeling so grateful after I got off the phone and really having this hairy mess to contend with. um, and thinking about, I could really, or a person, let me put it that way, a person could get very upset about this and feel victimized by it in some way, whether by God, we can feel like we're getting punished for things. That's been an old belief system in our human history for a very long time. So, that's kind of in our DNA, and that can come up that, oh my gosh, it's God is punishing me for whatever, and I don't know why, and it's so unjust. I've taken such good care of my car, and now there's this issue that has no reason to be there, and and so forth. Or I could blame the state of Illinois, I could blame the state of Florida, I could, there's lots of people I could blame about this. And just kind of reflecting on that this morning, like, wow, I am so glad and I'm so grateful that I am not a person who goes there. Not that it's not a headache or something that I'd rather not contend with, but I feel positive that it's going to get taken care of one way or another, maybe not with the outcome that would have been ideal, but it's going to get taken care of no matter what. And just, reflecting on that this morning, again, as I was getting ready. And when we allow our emotions to lead the way and to guide us, they often take us into a place that can feel hopeless or helpless or like a victim, or sometimes angry and lashing, like we are able to lash out, or we feel like we need to lash out at somebody because of the circumstances going on in our lives. And there's so many other possibilities for outcomes and for handling things. And when we focus on meditation, we are letting go of our emotions. We are letting go of the thought process that is sometimes guided by those emotions instead of being guided by our wise mind. It's sometimes called, my spiritual teacher calls it the observer self, called the witness, whatever you want to call it. It's that higher part. If we want to keep the spirituality out of this for today, we can call it the higher mind, the higher brain, the rational part of the brain. But it is that part of ourselves that is above and beyond emotional states that come and go and do not stick around and are 90% of the time unhelpful. 10% of the time, we might feel fear around a tiger chasing us, and that's appropriate. We might feel grief around a big loss in our lives, and that's an appropriate use of our emotion to go through that grieving process. We could feel angry at a situation, and that anger can help us move through it. And so that's okay for a brief time. We don't want to stay in any of those places, though. And our meditation time helps us practice not being in those states. It helps us practice watching them come and go so that we aren't going to get stuck in any state of, I don't want to say state of mind, but state of thought or that passes through, or state of emotion that passes through. And so just letting that be our focus today, of being in that higher place within us that allows us to go, yep, I can understand my little human self not being happy about the situation, but that's not going, being there doesn't help me solve my problem. What helps me solve the problem is to acknowledge those feelings coming and going, acknowledging those thoughts that are coming and going, but saying, okay, but what is it that I need to do from that higher place within me? What is the best action step for the situation? And maybe we don't know right away, but it will come. If we stay in that clear thinking place, the answers will come, the solutions will come. And maybe not in our timing, maybe not the ideal outcome, but what is really feasible in our human life? Is the ideal outcome always feasible? No. And so why get stuck there? What we want to do is keep moving forward, keep our energy and our lives moving forward. And we can only do that in that higher place, because our emotions get stuck in and attached to those specific outcomes. And our thought processes can be so attached to the a picture that we have in mind. And so it's our job as that higher part of ourselves, that higher mind, to go, no, we need to let that go. We need to let go of that ideal. And no, we are, whether or not we're being we're experiencing being a victim in a situation, it's not helpful. It just isn't helpful for very long. And so, okay, so I got it. Yep, this happened. It was completely out of my control, but it is what it is. Let's move forward. Let's figure out what we can do and move forward with that. So in our meditation time today, we're going to just practice being in that higher mind. And maybe you're experiencing something right now that is outside of your management, and maybe causing some angst for you. And we're just going to look at that situation. Just let it be what it is. But we want to ask, okay, what's the higher solution here? What's the higher solution here? And if I have to let go of my ideas of what that outcome is, then I'm willing to do that. And we might have to work on that willingness, but I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to step back and say, okay, this is what it is. What can I do about it now? If these are the facts of the situation, what can I do about it now? And then we listen. We open ourselves and we listen to and for those higher solutions, and sometimes I call them divine ideas that come through. My spiritual teacher calls them revelations, or sometimes she calls them Christmas presents. Um, but those wonderful ideas that come through when we let go of our attachments to the specific outcomes and open ourselves to a new solution. All right, so that's our focus for today. So here we go. I invite you to get comfortable in your chairs as I steady my table here. And we are going to just take a couple of deep breaths to get centered and focused. I know I need it right now. Breathing in, using the diaphragm instead of the chest muscles. Breathing out the same way. Breathing in, out. And let's do this a couple more times, just breathing in deep breaths right now. When we breathe out, we just let the body sink into the chair we're sitting in, so that we can take no thought of the body position. Mm. Let your breathing return to a natural rate, breathing in, still using those belly muscles, the diaphragm, but just you don't have to take deep breaths, just normal breaths from the belly instead of the lungs, the chest muscles. And the practice that's coming to me right now is one we've used before, where we're breathing pure air in, everything else out. So let's do that a few times together. Breathing in pure air and breathing out through the back, everything else. Pure air in, everything else out. Pure air in, everything else out. And I invite you to use those statements as you're breathing at your own rate. And now, as we think of a situation in our lives where mm, maybe things aren't the way we'd like them to be, and we notice the facts of the situation that make it to be what it is. It is what it is. And we're continuing our breath, breathing pure air in, everything else out. And as we're breathing everything else out, we're breathing out our attachments to outcomes for the situation, that emotional sense of control that we get attached to, which is different than the control we need as human beings functioning on the planet. I sometimes call that management because the word control gets a bad rap sometimes. So we breathe pure air in, everything else out. And we see that situation before us with that pure air, that pure perspective. And we breathe out everything else. And perhaps you're noticing that the situation that's in your space right now, detaching from it may need a little extra work. I like journaling for that, letting it go, writing out what my expectations are, and surrendering those expectations, but not surrendering them to a concept of destitution, but surrendering them to a higher outcome, an outcome of harmony, of acceptance, of the highest good for all concerned. Just feel the attachments, the emotions around the situation, the mental ideal, which is just imagined anyway. We release all of that. We open ourselves to a new idea about the situation, an outcome perhaps that we didn't see before, an outcome that allows us to move forward with an inner clarity and peace. We open ourselves and we listen for that new idea, new perspective, new solution. As we continue to breathe pure air in, everything else out. You may notice those old attachments to outcomes, the emotional hold, the mental hold on the way we want our situation to work out will come to mind. And as we are opening to a new solution, and just notice that, say, yeah, that's what I wanted, but what I value is the highest solution available. And I think I know what that is, but I really don't. So I release all of these ideas of how my limited understanding, my limited perspective might think it should work out. And I open myself to higher ideas, higher input, more expansive possibilities for resolution. Now imagine yourself just turning the situation over to the universe, whatever your higher power is. And if you don't have one, it's okay. Just it's there anyway, and release it to that logic of the natural order of the world, that everything always works out one way or another. We just want to cooperate with all the movement that happens. With or without our agreement, it happens. We cooperate with that new solution coming forward. And if there's more work to be done to release whatever we need to release, we will do it. If you're able to continue this meditation time, I invite you to do so. And if you need to go about your day like I do, then just take a couple of deep breaths to help your presence be back in your chair, be in your room, and going about with you during your day, during your week. Thank you all for being here today so that I needed your support today, your presence, and we go forward cooperating with our highest solutions this week. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now.